Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.
Let me give you a quick overview about what a web server means. So most of you might already, you might have already worked on web servers, or you might have seen multiple types of web servers already. So let me just quickly give you an overview of what a web server is. So basically, whenever you access some kind of web page, so let's say you access some kind of web page like let's say www.google.com, right? So what do you see when you press this particular google.com? So it goes ahead and it shows you some web page, right? Now this particular web page is in fact running on some kind of server in the backend, right? So this is running on some kind of server, and that particular server will be required to load that particular page. So when you put any website, even for that matter flipkart.com, amazon.com, so basically those are running on some server. So when you see that particular UI or user interface, that gives you an option to log in, to give the password, right? So you put your login, your password, so that all thing is called as basically a web page. And this particular server which will host this web page will be called as a web server. Now installing and securing this particular web page is very important. Okay. So when I say this will act as a front end for the external or the end user. So what do I mean by that is, so whenever some external user tries to access this particular web page, so it will be the first thing that he'll notice. And securing this particular web page is very important, because that is how we are going to make sure that our application is secure. So let's talk about the agenda. So what we are going to cover today? So we are going to cover Apache HTTPD, and this particular HTTP, we will first of all cover introduction to web server. So how do a web server looks like? What is a web server? Then we will be installing particularly Apache web server on our CentOS 7. Then we will install some packages. We will make sure that every time server reboots, our web server should be automatically started. Then we will again see all those configuration, what is the directory structure, where Apache stores all those files. Then we will create our first web page. We will see the options in the configuration files. We will create and understand what is virtual host when we talk about Apache HTTPD. Then we will discuss about the logging of this particular Apache. So by logging, what I mean, so where this particular logs get generated and where those logs are stored. So logs can be anything. I mean, let's say someone is trying to access your website, and now you want to understand from which region or from which computer your particular website is getting access. So that is also possible, and that is stored in logs. Again, you can have some error logs regarding the server. So that is all. I mean, once we install it, you are going to see everything there. Then we will see how we can rotate the log. So first of all, we will need to understand what is a log rotation. Then we will discuss some few parameters around security. Then we will be deploying and starting the TLS and slash SSL for our application. So that is like securing our application. And then we will understand some terminology regarding authentication that happens in the HTTPD. And then we can again see some troubleshooting options, and then adjusting this particular HTTPD conf file, and then using and analyzing the data that flows through your web server. So as I was talking about this particular web server, so what is a web server is again a remote server which has the capability to host some pages. Now the web server can be of two types. So web server can be of two types. So it can be of, let's say, a static servers or static web page. It is having static web pages, and it can again contain dynamic web pages as well. Okay. So how do we need to configure? So let's discuss what is static web page and what is dynamic web page. So static web page can be something that doesn't store anything, so that doesn't have any kind of database, right? So that is a static website. So static, one example can be, let's say, you have some one page or one page of information or a single page of information that you need to provide to the website. So you can just go ahead and add those details in the file, and you can run your web server. So it will not have any interactive options. It will not have any kind of database, so it cannot store any data. It is just a read only web page that you are going to see. And when we talk about dynamic web page, so definitely dynamic web page is going to have lots of features. It again have the database. You can store some data, you can do multiple things in the dynamic web pages, right? So now when we talk about web servers, so web servers you can deploy using multiple softwares. Okay. So like, if I want to give you the example, so we have this particularly two example. So that we are going to see is, so first one is HTTPD or Apache. So Apache is a vendor that is providing us this software. So this particular Apache is a open source project again. Now this particular open source project is going.
Hey viewers, our Master in DevOps engineering program can help you to hone the skills necessary to succeed in high-level DevOps positions. So, what are you waiting for? Enroll now and earn certification that show you are keeping pace with today's technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
Going to help us to deploy the web server. And again, the second one, that is a Nginx. So again, Nginx server is there, so you can make sure that you can use this particular Nginx as well. So it is Nginx server, is again available a web server. As a web server, you can configure this particular Nginx. Again, it comes in multiple versions. Like it has the free trial, as well as it has the paid version, like the supported version, or the, what do we call it, as an enterprise version as well. So today our agenda will be mostly on Apache to deploy those servers and to create particularly the web servers. So now, as we have understood, like, what is a web server, right? So what is a web server? Server which hosts the website. That is a web server. So now let's go ahead and let's create one EC2 instance, and we are going to install the Apache on top of that. So let me just take a login to my AWS account. So it doesn't matter if your machine is on AWS, is it on your local system, or is it on any cloud. So that doesn't matter, because the base OS that we are going to create is again a CentOS only. So you can create whatever you want. I mean, that is your completely your choice. Either you can install it on your local host also. If you are using VirtualBox, you can go ahead for testing purposes. You can go ahead and install the CentOS 7, and on top of that, you are going to install that particular software. So for now, let me just go ahead and download the CentOS. I'll just go with the marketplace, and it is a free tier eligible, and I require CentOS 7. So I'll just go ahead with CentOS 7. Okay, so it is a free tier eligible. So let me select this particular Amazon image. You can select any image that you want. So again, so it is telling you what kind of resources it supports. So basically, it supports T2 micro as well. So you can just as per the costing you can say, but yeah, I'll go ahead with this T2 nano, because we don't require much of the resourcing capabilities for now. So let me just go ahead and continue with this. And okay, even the T2 micro is fine. 1 GB RAM, 1 GB RAM, and 1 CPU is fine for that. So let's say configure an instance. I'm changing nothing. Let's go ahead and let's say storage. So storage is 10 GB. Add tag. I can give some name here. So I can just say my web server. and then I can just say configure security group. So you see, when you are configuring a security group, you will require to add 80 as well as 40 port. So this particularly 80 and 443 are the port. So 80 is a port for HTTP. So whenever you put some website, okay, let me explain you that as well. Whenever you put some website like google.com, so you see there is some lock here, right? There is some certification lock here. So when you say this particular is running on HTTPS protocol, so it is a secure protocol. HTTPS is a secure protocol. So now this particular thing is basically running on the 443 port. So if some website is non-secure or on it is insecure, so it might run on the HTTP only. So HTTP is 80 port and HTTPS is a 443 port. So that is what you have to understand, the first point. So after that, so that is why I'm just going to open the 80 port here, and I'll just say from anywhere I want to access, I should be able to access this, and I'll just say review and launch. And after that, just same configuration, and you can just say launch. It will ask if you want to create a key. So yes, I want to create a key. I can say Apache web server, and I'll download the key, and yeah, I'll launch the instance. So this is going to help me launching the instance in the AWS, which will have the CentOS 7 as a base operating system, and we are going to install a software on top of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's see how we can configure or install the Apache. So again, I'll recommend you to go through the official documentation for any kind of installation. So just say install Apache on CentOS. So it is going to give you the official documentation. You can just follow the official documentation. Or you can just say get started. So it is going to give you the official documentation that is available here. So it is quite straightforward. You have to just scroll down. You can go to download option, and here you see lots of available options to download that particular package. So you have this particular package available with you. You can make use of those packages, and then you can create the source, right? So let's go ahead and let's see if our instance is ready or not. So let me see if our instance is ready or not. Just allow me 2 minutes to spawn up this VM. I think it is not yet spawn up. So if it is not spawn up, we might go ahead with the Red Hat 7 as well, because it is a downstream, which is a upstream for your CentOS. So let me just say rel. So we have rel 8. Let me just see if I can get rel 7. Okay, that's great. So it is now in pending state, so I think it will be created. So let's wait for.
Hey viewers, trying to get into DevSecOps? Enroll for our DevSecOps certified professional programs and earn the certification that shows you are fit for these technical roles and requirements. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
For another 2-3 minutes. Till that time I can go ahead and describe some more things. So basically this particular package is available in binaries as well as source file. So you have to download this particular source file, and you can extract that particular source file for in your particular machine. So again, basically the HTTP package is also included inside your base OS repository also. So even if you don't go here to download, you can just quickly go ahead and install it on your machine. So I'm just trying to log in into my machine. So let me open this particular terminal window, and I will raise in case of font for you. Let's go, and let me just modify the permission of the key. So you need to make sure that your key should have 400 permission. So that's what I am doing here, and then let me take access of this particular machine. So it is asking, do you want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. So now I am inside this particular CentOS machine. You can again check in etc Red Hat release. So it is going to tell you that it is CentOS 7.8 that we are running. Now let's go ahead and let's install a web package or the package that is required. So in case of CentOS, you have this Apache package, or you have this HTTPD package. But in case of Ubuntu, it will be Apache 2. So in future, if you want to install on Ubuntu, you will have to go ahead with the Apache 2 package. So Apache 2 package is for your Ubuntu, and HTTPD package is for your uh, HTTPD package is for your CentOS. So that those are the two packages that you might need in the future as well. So yeah, I mean, we can go ahead, and I will just follow a guide that is a simple process that will help us to install the particular Apache service. So let's say sudo yum install httpd, that is the package name that you require. Then it will ask you if you want to download that particular package or not. So once this goes away, it will ask, do you want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. So it is going to give you this particular option, and now you can say, if you say which httpd, it is going to tell you that okay, httpd is now installed. If you want to take the service status, so you can just say systemctl status httpd. It is telling that the httpd service is currently disabled and it is not running. So to run this particular service, you will have to fire this command systemctl start httpd. Once you start the httpd, you can again go ahead and check the status of your httpd. So this is a package, this is a provided by your Apache. And if I want to check the status, so now you see the service is now running. But now if the service is running, so we can access we can create the web page and we can access that particular web page. But let's say after some time, let's say there is some issue with your server and your server gets rebooted. So what will happen then? If your server gets rebooted, then definitely it will be an issue, because if your server is getting rebooted, then your web server will go down, right? And if your web server is going down, and then after the reboot of the server, the web server should automatically come up, right? But here, what is the issue is that the service is disabled, so that is why it is not going to open up this particular web page once you restart the server. So that is not expected, right? So for that matter, you have to just enable the service. So systemctl enable httpd. Okay, so it creates a symlink from this particular service inside systemd, so that every time system restart, automatically this particular service will be triggered and you will be able to see those particular things. So to share you the steps that are required, you can just simply type installing and configuring httpd on CentOS. So it is going to give you all the commands that I have fired. So yeah, those are the same commands that we are using. So we are just installing httpd package. Firewall I'll cover later. then we are starting the HTTP and we are checking the status of HTTP. Okay, and now once we have this particular thing, so let's go ahead and let's understand some more things here. So once you install those things, right, so sometimes what may happen is there is a firewall in your system. So if you check here systemctl status firewall D, so this is one service that is available inside your uh, CentOS or your Red Hat, right? So it is telling firewall service could not be found. If you want to check systemctl status IP tables, so one of those service must be enabled. So let's say if we start the service firewall D, let me run the command using sudo. Okay, I think the firewall is not enabled here. So let me just check it once. Okay, so if let's say for now this particular instance we don't have the firewall installed, right? So let me just check if I can enable the IP tables service. Okay, so both the firewall as well as IP tables service is not available here. But let me tell you, there are some commands that you need to run when you
Hey viewers, are you looking for formal training on SRE practices? Take our SRE program. This course will teach you how to successfully implement site reliability engineering in the modern day 24/7 services. Kickstart your SRE training today. Contact info is mentioned in the video sidebars and in the description box. Book your seats for the upcoming batches now.
when you configure it on your system. So sometimes what happens is firewall might be enabled. So what is a firewall? Let me explain you that. So basically for every server you will have, let's say this is your server. So basically firewall is a layer network which can block the traffic for you. So let's say who can access your web server. Okay, so you can add some IP table rules. So this is basically one kind of protection or the one kind of security protection for your server. So what happens, you can control the inbound and outbound traffic. Okay, so you can set up the inbound and outbound traffic rules. So basically how this is going to work, so it is basically works on the rules. So you create several rules. So let's say, as you might already know, everything on the Linux or any machine works on the ports. So what is a port is nothing but your place from where the traffic will flow, right? So now let's say if this traffic is coming on this 80 port, right? So do you want to accept this traffic, do you want to reject this traffic, or what do you want to do with this particular traffic? So that's what you can achieve using your firewall. So if you block this particular 80 port in your firewall, so by default all the ports are blocked in the firewall. So by default no traffic, no external traffic can go ahead and enter in this particular server, right? But if you enable that particular thing inside your firewall rules, as I'm mentioning about rules, so if you enable that inside the firewall rules, so you can go ahead and you can you know uh, enable or allow that particular traffic to go through your security group. So let me see, so since firewall and IP table both are not there, so let me just see if I can run this command. Basically it should not work because firewall is not installed. Okay, so that's why firewall command is not found. So let me check once. So what you have to do in this particular example, if let's say on your system firewall is enabled, so you will have to fire some firewall command. And here I am trying to add HTTP service. So when you say add HTTP and HTTPS service, so automatically it will add up 80 and 443 port. So if you remember, in case of our server where we had created a server, so if you remember in security group, so security group is again a firewall in a cloud environment. So in this particular example I had already added the 80 port, right? So for this web server, if you go in security, I had added the 80 port, right? So 80 port is open for the internal inbound rules. So you can again go ahead and add the 443 as well. So adding it is simple. You have to just go to security groups again, inbound rules, and just add a rule for your HTTPS. So automatically 443 it will take anywhere, and you can just say save the rules. So what is going to happen now is, so you have opened a web page, you have opened a port for your particular website. So now if it was a firewall, so basically you will have to run those commands, so which will open a HTTP as well as HTTPS service, which in terms will open 40, which in terms will open 80 and 443 ports for you. And the final commands you have to run is this particular firewall command reload. Now let's talk more about what kind of service commands that are available when we talk about the HTTPD. So particularly to check what is the particular thing that you can manage. So when you want to stop the server, so basically this command you should fire, that is systemctl sudo stop httpd. In case of Ubuntu it will be Apache 2. Okay, so when you want to start the web server, so sometimes it may happen that you change some configuration and you want to restart the server, right? So there these commands might help you to perform some tasks. So to stop your server, you will have to fire this first command, that is systemctl stop httpd. Let me copy that. So if I do that, okay, and if you now check the systemctl status of this particular service, so if you check this particular status, it is going to tell you that this service is dead or it is inactive, right? So this is how it works. Again, you can run start command. So this is going to start the web server. So this is how you communicate with the service. Then you want to, let's say you made some configuration changes and you want to, you don't want to restart the service because server is already running, but you want to reload the configuration. So we will see what kind of configuration I'm talking about. But yeah, let's say you want to change that particular configuration. So what you can do is you can run this particular systemctl reload command. And when we talk about disabling the service, so that means on reboot automatically this web server will not be started. So those are some commands, those are required. So now let's go ahead and let's deploy a simple web server. So I'll just go ahead and deploy some simple web server, and I'll just, so first thing first, when you want to understand where this particular file is located, right? I mean where this all the things are mentioned. So basically when you want to configure anything, so you should go to etc directory. So if you go here and if you check for httpd, so you see there is one directory created for httpd. So if you go inside this directory and if you do ls, so you will see there are lots of files, those are available. So one file is conf file. So let's go inside this conf directory, and here you will find httpd -conf. So this particular file httpd conf is a configuration file. So in future we are going to see how we use this particular configuration file to change some parameters. But for now, let us focus and let us create some small example wherein we will be deploying the web page. So yeah, so let me move outside of this directory, and you have multiple things like you have conf.d. So why this particular conf.d is there? So let's say sometimes you don't want to you don't want to go ahead and change the main global configuration file. So particularly the earlier file that we see http.conf is a main file, or it is a global file. So sometimes what you want to go ahead and create your manually your file, so that you don't hamper anything which are the default parameters specified in the conf file. So we are going to discuss this conf file as well. Now, where this particular web page refers the web page. So basically, where do it store the file? So if you go inside var lib or var html, okay. So in this particular directory, you have to make sure that the web page is there. Okay. So for now, let's take the system ctl status once again. So this particular server is now started. So let's say when I am saying this server is started, that means this particular service should have binded the 80 port. So let's check that. So for that you will have to install netsat. So let me see if netsat is working. Yes, it is working. The command is pretty straightforward, netstat-tulnb. So that shows you the active connections with the UDP and TCP protocols. So currently you can see 80 port TCP has been binded to as a listen port. Okay, it is binded as a listen port. Okay, so now let's say if I want to reach to this particular server. Okay, so what are the IP addresses I do have? I can check using this particular command, that is IPAS repinet. So we are just seeing this particularly private IP. So definitely if you go ahead and if you curl this private IP on 80 port, so you are going to see something. Okay, so you are seeing something like this: Centos distribution is stable, something like this, some web page is there. So let's say you want to check the same example on the web page. So just copy this particularly the public IP that is available on the dashboard and just paste it here. So if you go here, it is telling you that okay, something has been installed. So it is a testing web page. This web page is to test the proper operation of this particular server, and it is powered by CentOS. Now so this is how, I mean, the we can, once we are able to see this test page, we are sure that our particularly our file.
Thanks for watching. Want to study further? Join our training programs today.